So I thought we'd start today looking at this Model 4 that I picked up recently. It's absolutely filthy. This came out of a barn or an outbuilding. A guy was giving away just a ton of vintage stuff, and this was in the mix. As you can see, it's extremely filthy, covered in dust and dirt. It is a 64K model. It's got one of these cloth screen protector things on it, but just the physical condition. You know, it has potential to be cleaned up. There is duct tape adhered to the top. There's all kinds of chips and dings in the plastic. If we come around back, we can see more where there was duct tape on the case. It's really, really rough. I have no idea if it works, but I'm going to start with a external vacuuming and brushing and try to remove as much of this surface stuff as I can, and see what we. The vacuuming and light brushing helped. A lot of the nastier stuff has come up off, but it's still absolutely filthy, as you can see. I'm going to move on next to just some Windex and paper towel and just try to knock as much of the surface nastiness off of it as I can before I open it up. I'm going to open the unit fully up and inspect it inside before I even consider applying power. Gunk on the paper towels, just the Windex and the wipe down actually helped. I flipped the unit over and I'm taking a look underneath, and there's actually some positive things here. The screw heads are not all corroded or rusted out that I can see on the feet, etc. The brass inserts in there are clean. The RS-232 connector is clean, no rust. This is a good sign this hasn't been sitting in water or very wet, which is actually a really good sign. It gives hope that the condition inside might be decent. So just knocking all this mess off makes it a lot easier to handle. It doesn't feel nearly as gritty and dirty as I handled the basic parts of the case. Let me rotate it here, and you can see that the keyboard, there's paper towel lint everywhere, but the keyboard is substantially cleaner. Everything's just a little bit nicer to have to handle at this point, so it's a good sign. So the interior is actually a lot cleaner than I expected. The monitor board's nice and clean. There's not a lot of dust or dirt. As you saw, the exterior is pretty nasty. I did break the warranty seal, so I had to actually break the tape over the screw hole to open it up. So that says to me this unit's probably never been worked inside of, or if it was done by Tandy. I'm actually much more hopeful now that I've seen inside of the unit and just how clean everything appears to be. I'll take a close look at the capacitors on the switching power supply, see if I see any problems there. Looking down into the floppies, for the little bit you can see, they look clean inside. I don't see a lot of dust or dirt. There's no, mice nests or anything inside of it. I've opened up systems before where mice had nested inside and urinated, and the urinal, of course, destroyed the printed circuit board. So this is very positive at this point to see this. The system actually has a pretty good chance of working. So anyhow, I'm going to continue tearing down a bit, and we'll see where we get. So as I've poked around a bit more, one of the things I've come to realize is these little white spots that you may be able to see are overspray from spray paint, and there's a light film of white, perhaps spray paint across the keyboard. It looks like somebody spray painted in the general area. I'm not sure I'll ever be able to clear that totally off. Looking at the power supply, I can see that these two caps back here are starting to bulge. I can feel it. The others feel fine. So those two are suspect at this point. They don't feel like they failed. I don't see any signs of electrolytic leaking out, anything like that. But there's a fair chance one or more of those might pop when I power it up. I'm going to move a lot faster here than I'd originally planned to, because I expected the interior condition to be far worse than it is. It's plugged in. I'm going to step back and actually apply power, and we'll see what we get. So just for a brief Well, that's a really good sign. It just tried to access the floppy, and the green screen says diskette. Wow. Amazing. And we are in BASIC. I'm actually surprised. And 48K, although we know it's a 64K machine capable of running CPM. So it really looks like all this system's going to need is a recapping, some boot software, a thorough cleaning, and see what I can do to make the case look a little nicer. But it looks like, just out of the box, I'm pretty impressed. It's a functional Model 4. It looked like it had all the options underneath. There was a serial card, and of course the parallel port out the back, and expansion. All the accessory cards seem to be there. It looks like a very complete system. So I'm pleased. That's very nice. Well, I've got the system just sitting here, printing up the character set, looping it over and over is kind of a burn-in. Video is nice and crisp. Of course, the camera doesn't pick it up real well. It's always much far brighter on the camera than it is to the eye. I don't see any swimming on the monitor. I don't remember how to get this thing into the 80 column mode, etc. I'm pretty sure the Model 4 can do 80 column, etc. I just continue to be impressed like how clean the CRT board there is. It looks like it's straight from the factory. It's very clean. You know, where the power resistors are, I don't see a lot of heat on the board, a lot of damage from them. You may be able to see the two big power resistors down here and the switching supply for the computer. Again, there's not a lot of heat damage to the board. There's really none. That power supply, just based on the lighting I have here, looks like it's essentially brand new. It's really clean. There's obviously some time on it because of the bulging in the caps, but I'm very used to seeing heat burn on the printed circuit board underneath power resistors, and there's just none. I wish I had some boot media for it. My last Model 4 I gave away sometime in the last year, and all the software I had for it went. I had kind of decided to back out of playing with Radio Shack hardware at that point, and then that Model 1 came into my life. And now I have 3 Model 1s, and I have a Model 4, and anybody who does this for a hobby understands the addiction. I've always wanted to put one of the high-res graphic boards, the aftermarket ones. I see them on eBay, in a Model 4, and this will probably be the target system for that. We'll see. So, pretty pleased. Didn't get to do a lot of troubleshooting so far, but that's good and bad. Well, the systems ran for several hours here, just looping on a little simple basic program. Very solidly. I've had no issues at all with it. I assumed, based on the manufacturer date, it was a gate array version, which of course it is. I've pulled the RF cover off the back just to get a look at the main board. And a little bit of dust, but it's clean overall. Seems to run reliably. I'm strongly considering picking up one of the high-res graphic boards for this, and probably get the Bartlett Labs system expander for the Model 3 to add to it, which would give me hard drive emulation, which would be really nice. I could turn this into definitely a nice little machine. The only thing that really needs a lot of work is the case, and I've kind of got to decide what I'm going to do about the case, whether go through the effort of doing a real deep tear down and clean, or just get it good as I can. Of course, it'd be nice to have it very clean, but we'll see. So I'm undecided. Anyhow, there is the system, working well. Very surprising considering how dirty it was. I'm very pleased. So a quick status update. I've spent a fair amount of time cleaning the exterior plastics. As you can see, it's markedly improved. I've got a keycap puller coming. And once it gets here, I'll pull the keycaps and do a much better clean of those. But you know, compared to how this thing initially looked, it's much better. It's still got some tape residue on the plastics from the masking tape, but the vast majority of the mess has come off. You know, I can at least touch it now and it doesn't feel sticky, nasty, dusty. So definitely progress. Happy with the build so far.